Hi, this is Jane Hilda coming to you from the Muletown rec where our goal is to keep you at home, stay put, stay fit, and stay well. Today, we've got an exercise that's all-encompassing. It's a total body exercise, and we'll talk about that a little later. Now we're going to go to the warm-up, and we're going to start with head rolls. So we're going to go from top down, and there's no amount of reps on here. What I want you to do is just at least 10. So we want it to be fairly repetitive just to get our body acclimated. We're going to drop the chin to the chest and roll the ear to the shoulder, drop the chin back to the chest, and ear to the other shoulder. And you'll do that about 10, at least 10, maybe 10 or more times. Then from there, we're going to shoulder rolls. So we're standing up straight and tall, getting a good range of motion, going very far forward and far back. Then we're going to add to that the arms and a greater range of motion. We're going to round the back here, open the chest here. 10 of those forward, 10 of those back. Then we're going to open the chest, push it forward, and then clasp the hands going back. Open the chest, push forward, clasp the hands, go back. I'm going to keep that, it's not really stretch, it's a dynamic stretch, so it's movement incorporated into a stretch. From there, we're going to create a strong base. Our core is engaged, feet about hip width apart. We're going to rotate the torso. So making sure that your core is engaged to protect the back. And from there we have good mornings. We're going to bring the feet closer together, shoulders back and down, hands on the hip where they can be here. We're going to hinge at the hip. So this uses a hip hinge pattern. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see that that's not a rounded back, but instead hinging forward at the hips and then shoot the hips forward. So 10 forward, 10 back. We're going to slight bend or break in the knee. Not an over locked out joint or a locked out joint, nor do we want to over bend in the knee. All right, from there, alternating knees out. Now, if you're one of our boot camp participants or a person that's accustomed to that, you can add a little jump with that. If not, you can just bring your knees to your chest in a quick movement. From there, we're going to a rear kick. Again, class, either of those like that, but you are free to just bring the heel toward the hip. Going to a shallow squat then. So shallow, we're not warmed up to get a full movement. We're bending the knees, coming back up. Bending the knees, coming back up. 10 of those. We have leg swings. You might want to go to an anchor point. We've got great balance. No need to do that. We're going vertical first, 10 forward and back. Then horizontal next, 10 side to side, getting a great range of motion, and then 10 on the other leg doing the same thing. Moving to calf raises, standing about hip width apart. Again, if you want an anchor point to support yourself, that's fine. We're coming up on the heels, back down. Up on the balls of the foot, rather, heels off the floor, and then back down. Next, we're going to the floor for a hip bridge. So we're going to go to a recumbent position. Feet are here, hands beside you, chin is to the chest, so the bones in the neck are parallel to the floor. And we're coming up, lifting up. You may want to stay there for a second, a little pulse, all the way back down. 10 of those. Then, let me sit up to show you our next movement. So pretend like I'm lying on the floor. We're going to take the hands up and then bring them into the elbows into the waist or the sides. So for that, we're going to go all the way down here. And if you're not able to get your hands all the way down to the floor, that's cool. But you want to start here, bringing the elbows into the side, and reaching as far as you can overhead, back down, and then overhead. And that takes care of our warm-up. Okay, so we're going to go with the scope of the exercise we're going to do as a short little preview today so you see what's coming. We got a conditioning exercise first, that'll be the burpee. Second, we have a push movement. Third exercise involves a pull movement. Fourth will be a hip dominant exercise. Fifth, a knee dominant exercise. And finally, our core strength movement, and then we will cool down. Okay, we're going to start with the conditioning exercise, also the explosive exercise, and that's a burpee. So if you know how to do an advanced version of the burpee, we're not even going to go there with this because I'm assuming that I don't know my audience. So we're going to go with the easiest version or a progression. We'll start with the easiest version and then progress on to the most difficult one for our intensive purposes here today. If you've got a bottom step in your house or something that you trust that's not movable, like this step, this will be the easiest version. What you can do is simply go here, take the hands down, step a foot back, in, and explode up. So if we go faster, it would be out, down, back, in, up, out, out, down, back, in, up. So it seems like an easy version. However, if you do that quickly, then it's going to get your heart rate up. Harder would be out, down, hop both feet back, hop both feet in, and add a hop. Then we've got the hardest, we'll go away from the step, where we go out, down, back, up. So going on the floor is a little bit more difficult than using the bench. And those are our burpee progressions. Choose any or a combination of all of those. I would say 10 plus reps is what I would shoot for. For our push exercise, we're going to use something I assume all of us have at home. That's a gallon jug. This one is filled with water and we weighed it, and it's 9 pounds. Of course, a half gallon would be half that. Or any soup cans, whatever you have that would add a little bit of weight. Before we even start with adding weight to the movement, I'm going to show you the movement itself. We're going to be in a recumbent, that means lying down, supine, facing up position, and our arm, the arm that we're going to be pushing with, the left arm will just be out to our side. Start with the right arm, and it's about a 45-degree angle away from the body. The movement will look like this with whatever you're using for weight. You're going to go straight up, bring it back down. Straight up, bring it back down. Now, I'm going to show you something that in my classes they know is not negotiable. The way that you would pick up something from a recumbent position looks like this. So if I'm going with my right hand, I'm going to get in sort of a fetal position. I can stick my hand through this way, or grab whatever. I'm going to choose this way. So I'm in this fetal position. I'm going to bring it into my chest and roll over onto my back. Or I can grab it here, bring it into my chest, roll over onto my back. From there, I use the other arm to get the weight up. Left arm goes by my side. Legs are extended, core engaged, so the small of the back is flat to the floor. I'm going to go up, bringing it down about a 45-degree angle. When I go down, make sure this left shoulder is not coming off the ground. It needs to be adhered or nailed into the floor. So again, we're going up, bringing it down, going up, bringing it down, bring it to my chest, roll over and get rid of it. So never ever should you pick up something here, especially something fairly heavy, and pull it into position. Always remember that fetal position. Grab it, support it, roll onto your back, arm up, opposing arm down, and going at a 45-degree angle away from the body, keeping the feet on the floor. Small of the back presses down to the floor. You're achieving that through core engagement. This is the movement you're going for, and the left shoulder staying flat on the floor. So I'm going to bring it into my chest and roll over. Now, what I'm going to have to do is get up and switch sides. And we'll do the same thing on the side. Pick it up, roll it to my chest, right arm down this time. Left arm goes up. We're going to bring it down and up. Good, fluid, smooth movement. With the feet on the floor, small of the back presses the core. The core presses the small of the back down to the floor. And we're going to smooth movement up and down. So if this is too much weight, go lower. You never, ever, ever want to put weight on an improper load because that can cause injury. So for our pull movement today, we're going to use the same weight. So if you could, whatever weight you used with the push, you're going to use on the pull. We're going to hinge forward at the hips. I prefer, if you're not used to being in this position, to have a supported forward flexion. That would mean your hand is going to be on the surface. It could be, make sure it's stable, your kitchen countertop, or whatever that puts you in this forward flexion, but it's a supported forward flexion. So notice that from the side, I should have a straight line from the crown of my head to the tailbone. My feet are about hip width apart. Some folks like to stand like this. We're going to grab whatever we're lifting and bring it up to the chest and down. And this is very important. I want you to think of this more of a squeeze of the upper back than a pull with the arms. So we're targeting the muscles in the back. So think squeeze, I'm gonna squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. The muscles in my back are contracting, moving toward my shoulder blade, and there's just so far I can go. So I'm squeezing, I'm squeezing, I'm squeezing. That's as far as I can go, and the rest is gonna be a little pull to get it to the top. If you wanna add intensity, go up to the top, 2, 3, and then down. Up, 2, 3, and down. But remember, it's not this, It's not a pull, it is a squeeze. So if you're comfortable in a unsupported forward flexion, you can grab 2 of whatever you're lifting, hinge them forward at the hips. Again, my knees are slightly bent, my core is engaged, and then I will squeeze, 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 like I'm trying to squeeze a grape between my shoulder blades. That's about as far as I can go with the squeeze. I'm gonna finish with a little pull, hold, 2, 3, and down. Squeeze, hold, 2, 3, and down. So you would do that 10 reps, or if you're using lightweight, 10 to 12, 12 to 20, whatever you feel comfortable with. But you want to get the form down first, with the slight hinge at the hip, a squeeze, not a pull, until you get to a certain point. Then there's a little pull, hold, and release for the upper back. So that counters our push movement. Next is our hip dominant movement, which is going to use that hip hinge pattern we went over in the warm-up. So we're going to hinge at the hip, keeping our back straight, chest lifted, slight bend at the knee, and come back up. That's the hip hinge pattern. We're going to make it a little more difficult and incorporate some balance into this activity. Say get the milk jug or whatever into your right hand, and you want to use, if you've got good balance, you don't have to use a anchor point, but let's just assume that I don't have good balance. First of all, I'm going to stand with my shoulders retracted and depressed, core engaged. That's the start of any movement. I'm going to put my hand on the anchor point, and I want to keep or retain a straight line from the crown of my head all the way to my heel. You know what? Let me show you the incorrect way to do it first, and that will sometimes help. So my leg's going to go up, but look how it just stops. But my chest, I've got really good form, but my leg just stopped participating. So you want to keep your leg and your torso in a straight line. So think of a straight line from the crown of my head to my heel. As I hinge forward, and there's a slight bend at the supporting knee, forward, forward. The leg keeps going up till I make a T shape. And then I come back up, slow, fluid, precise movements. You don't need an anchor point. Then you think, get your mind into that movement, lengthen the leg, let it go up with the torso, and then come back up slowly. And you do the same thing on the other side. Just remembering to keep that leg lengthened, making a T, really, really, really slowly, supporting knee slightly bent, and then come up again. Never load until you've got the form of the movement. So it's perfectly fine to do this. And doing it this way in and of itself is rather difficult. And then come back up. We would do 10 on one leg, 10 on the other. Unless you're using a really, really heavy weight, you would do less. If you're using no weight or light weight, you would do more. That's our hip dominant exercise. Okay, next is our knee dominant movement, and that's a squat. This is a great movement to practice. It's functional strength. We all need to, we sit down and stand up numerous times every day. So we need to practice the best way to do so, and then we'll add weight to that movement. Here's what you think of. What's going to initiate the movement? Our knees are going to bend. It is a knee dominant exercise, but they don't start first. The movement initiates right here in the gluteal muscle. So I'm going to sit in this chair. The first thing that happens is my rear, my glutes go back. Notice how my chest is staying up. So if I've got a logo or a marathon, running a marathon, there's a number on my chest. I want it to stay up. So I'm going to bend my knees, or shoot my hips out back, bend my knees, down, 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 and look at my knee. I can still see my feet if I look below. I can still see my toes. Is my knee moving forward? Yeah, but just a little bit. Here's an improper squat. So we don't want to keep our numbers up and focus on bending the knee and coming back up. If I do that and go to any depth, I can no longer see my feet. That's a hyper extension of my knee joint, and that's dangerous. So a very crude analogy is to think of using a toilet or a public toilet. If you're going to do that, you want to hover right above. As soon as you think of that, you're like, yeah, I get that. Your chest is up, your hips are back, my knee went forward, but I can still see my toes, and then I'm going to come up. So let's do it with a little wider stance. If my heels are outside here, and that's cool as well. Your feet can be wider. So what is this squat for? There's different ones. Usually right outside your hips, toes a little bit pointed out. Then you can take heel toe, go a little wider. You can take heel toe, and go a little wider. The farther apart you are, the more depth you're going to attain. So I'm going to squat properly, pick up my weight. I can use just one. Let's start with that. Now we'll rack it here in the front. So remember to practice the squat before you add a weight load. Never put weight on an improper load. You're just asking for trouble. So if you don't have a mirror, I hope you have a friend or someone that can say, your knees are out of alignment, your hips are not going back, your chest is not lifted. Here we go. Down, down, down. I'm going to touch, and then I'm going to come right back up. Keeping my core engaged to support my low back, keeping my chest up, keeping the weight load right here, and then pushing back up. Let's go a little wider. So we go heel toe. Same thing, chest up. I'm going to shoot my hips out back, going down as far as I care to go or I can go, and then pushing up through my heels to invoke the use of my quads if I want to add some weight. I'm going to rack this in the front. Same thing, shooting hips out back, core engaged, pressing up to the heels and coming to the top. And there is your knee dominant exercise. We're going to our core strength exercise now. And the core, some of us think, or I used to think, that the core just meant your abdominal muscles. Your core, just think of it as an apple core. Take your arms off, take your head off, take your legs off. It's your torso. The core are the muscles that support everything here. So we've got abdominals, obliques, and the muscles in the back. We're going to train each of those today, starting with the abdominal muscle group. So we're going to lie. Let's start from top to bottom. This is called a cervical knot. I've got my chin to my chest, the bones in my neck are parallel to the floor, my shoulders are retracted and depressed, my core is engaged. That means, now core engagement doesn't mean I'm holding my breath. It means the action that my abdominals will take if somebody's going to hit me in the stomach. They tighten up. I can still talk, I can still breathe, but they're engaged, and that presses the small of my back to the floor, and then my legs are extended. I know that your kids have roll-ups or eat the candy roll-ups. That's what you're going to think of. You are the roll-up, the floor is the cellophane. So we're going to think one vertebrae at a time. We're going to articulate the spine, peeling off the floor up into hopefully a seated position. So we'll take a deep breath in through the nose, exhale as I draw my chin to my chest, peeling up, 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 all the way up to a seated position. Then to go down, we're going to C-curve the back to facilitate that movement one vertebrae at a time. My spine goes in contact with the floor until I'm all the way down. Now let's do a regression of that exercise. We can, well, let's leave the legs out for now. What if you can't go all the way up? It's okay. Here's what I want you to do. Big inhale through the nose, chin to the chest, say, that's as far as I can go, Hilda. Okay, that's as far as you can go. One vertebrae at a time, going back down. Be okay with that and think, tomorrow I'm going to go a little higher up off the floor. Control is the thing and articulation of the spine. Another thing you can do is bend the knees and use them for support. Getting yourself up higher and going down one vertebrae at a time. Don't say, I can't do that, I'm not going to do that. Just regress the exercise. And if you say you want to progress it, you want to make it harder, grab the milk jug or something, keep it right here at your chest, and go through that range of motion with that weight here. If you want to make it even harder, take the weight right here behind your head and do the complete roll-up. So that's what we're on the floor. Big inhale, chin to the chest, think fruit roll-up, one vertebrae at a time until you're up as far as you can go, and go back down in a controlled manner. Now let's move on to the sides. We've got a side plank, and here's some things you don't want to do with the side plank. I don't want to be bent here. I want to think of a straight line. In my head, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. Think of a straight line. That's when a mirror or a friend would be good. So you've got a straight line from the crown of your head, running down your spine to your hips. You're going to come off the floor. I'm going to move my hips back off the floor and go back down, up and down. So I moved my hips back because I really want to have a straight line from my knee all the way up to my head. You want to make it a little harder? You can take one leg out. Again, proud chest, core engaged. Your head is not here, neutral along with your spine. Just in a straight line with your spine, and you're going to come up and go down. You don't even have to touch the floor. Up and down. Let's make it a little harder. You take both legs out, this arm up. You're coming up, dropping back down. Up, dropping back down. You can hold up there for a little bit. 1, 2, 3, down. hardest is bringing that leg off the floor and continuing that movement. Okay, foot down, hip down, come all the way up to a seated position. And of course, you can do that on the other side as well. Now we're moving on to the back. So we're gonna get in a position, it's called a bird dog. The heel of my hands are under my shoulders, and my knees should be under my hips. So this takes balance, and you'll think, you know what, I don't really think it's working anything. After you do it a while, you'll be able to feel that it is. Again, I've got a core engagement. If not, I'd be like this. I don't want to be there, nor do I want to be here. Separate the shoulder blades. We're going to take the right arm straight out, and the left leg straight out. You can just stay there if you want, making an isometric contraction, lengthening the arm from the shoulder joint, lengthening the leg from the hip joint. You want to add movement, you can lift up, up, up. Another version is to bring the elbow to the knee, touch, and go back out. Long, think long and lean. So reaching long, contracting in. And then you can do the same thing on the other side. Extend the left arm, right leg, get situated, bring the elbow to the knee, and then lengthen. And that takes care of our core exercises. Now we're going to get into our stretching component of our exercises, which I did not put on the board, but you always need to leave time to stretch. So we're going to start. Well, let's start with the upper body. We're going to sit however is comfortable to you, and think of what we did. We did a push, so we need to lengthen the muscles in our chest. We're going to clasp our hands. If you don't have that range of motion or flexibility, grab a towel, hold onto it, and lift upward and look upward. So our goal here is to open the chest, countering the movement that we did to work the chest. Conversely, we work the back. We're going to stretch the back by pushing forward. So we're separating the muscles in the back, round in the back, pushing away actively, stretching the muscle group that we worked back there. From there, we're going to our hip. So we're coming up on one knee, one foot there. And we're going to push forward. So you can't really see it, but it's a little pelvic tilt. And then I'm going to lean forward. So you want to feel the hip flexor is right here. It's a little muscle right beneath the hip bone that controls the forward flexion of the hip. So to get that stretched, we tilt, we lean in and hold. If you have a bad knee and this puts undue stress on your knee, put a pillow under the knee, or you can come up and stretch from there. From there, we flex the foot, we work the hamstrings in the RDL, in the hip dominant exercise. So to stretch the hamstrings, we're going to lean forward as far as you feel comfortable. With a stretch, don't bounce. No bouncing. We go into it, hold, inhale, exhale, go a little deeper, and hold. Inhale, exhale, go a little deeper, and hold. That's what we do with all stretches. Okay, we do the same thing on the other side. Now we're going to move down to the floor and get the quadricep. The quadricep is a big muscle in the front of the leg. We worked it when we did the squats. So from here, I like to stretch the quad on the floor because you don't have to worry about balance, and you can get a real quality stretch in the quadricep. So I'm going to bend my knee, and I have the range of motion, the flexibility that will allow me to grab my foot here. If not, I can grab the shoe, or you can get a towel and put it around your foot. But what we're doing is pushing the heel toward the glute, and we're going to hold. Breathe into that muscle, that'll be the quad. Take a good deep breath, and I'm going to pull a little tighter and hold. Then I'm going to enhance the stretch by just pressing my hip bone in toward the mat and pulling. Breathing and holding at least 10 to 20 seconds, maybe more, ideally more. You cannot get enough stretching. And the same thing on the other side, grab the foot, hold. Big inhale, exhale, pull it in, heel toward the glute. Inhale, exhale, pull it tighter, and then tilt the pelvis forward. From there, we're going to take the hands beside us, we'll turn so that you can see me, into a child's pose. We're going to push up and back. So our hips are going to rest on our heels, and we're going to walk the fingertips forward. Lots of good deep breathing going on here. This is separating my shoulder blades. Great stretch for the upper back that we work in the bent rows or the pulls. And there I'm going to come up, safely getting up. One foot here, hands here. Coming all the way up, taking a great big deep cleansing breath. Touching the fingertips at the top, hold. Exhale, and one more. And exhale. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to have more videos for you. Keep in touch. Look at the Muletown website or the Facebook page. Remember, our goal here is to keep you put at home, keep you well, and keep you fit. Thank you for joining us.